Red sissies, they got our core. Can't let them get away with this.
Fuck! Spy, be careful with that shit, man. Yo, what's up? Today, I'm gonna talk about one of TF2's forgotten maps. And there's a lot of forgotten maps in this game. But out of all of the forgotten maps out there, this one might just be my favorite. I am, of course, talking about the one, the only, the myth, the legend, RD motherfucking asteroid. And before I say anything else, let me just say, this map is fucking awesome. This map has only been playable for like 2 years. And despite the fact that it has been gone from the rotation 4 times as long as it has been playable, this map made such an impression on me that I remembered it throughout all of this fucking time. I have an entire section in the first video that I made on Meet Your Match on RD Asteroid and how pissed I am, and I was, that this map just got removed for fucking no reason and thrown into the scrap heap in 2016. Like, all the fucking cancer that Meet Your Match brought into the game, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. They had to go out there and remove this fucking map. You know, I'm gonna leave the history lesson about what happened to Asteroid and, you know, how this entire map's official story went at the end. But I really just want to start with the practical details of RD Asteroid. I want to talk about this map, first of all, before anything, from the perspective of someone that actually regularly plays this map, because that is what I have had the fucking privilege to do. The title of this video is not RD Asteroid, the forgotten beta masterpiece that never was 20 years later, the RD Asteroid retrospective. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about the fucking gameplay elements of this map before anything, you know, because I think those are the most important. And I can actually talk about Asteroid from a practical gameplay perspective because, you know, to me, it isn't a forgotten, abandoned, scrapped, and fucking buried map that I haven't played in 100 years. No, I played this map like fucking 2 days ago. So before we begin talking about the actual specifics of the map, I actually have to tell you where you can even find this map. Well, let me tell you something. You're not going to find this fucking map in casual. That's not going to happen because it's gone from the rotation. I don't know why it's gone, but it has not been present in casual matchmaking ever. Since the beginning of this system, this map has never been a part of it. And the only way you can play this map is through community servers. And let me tell you something. 99.9% of community servers out there are not going to be playing this map. The one server that you're absolutely positively going to be able to play RD Asteroid. I mean, it's not a 24/7 RD Asteroid server, let me make that clear. But we do play this map regularly on castaway.tf, a server that I have mentioned previously, a server that I am going to mention in the future. The best TF2 community server out there. We fucking love this map here. RD Asteroid basically is the upward of Castaway. So the first step to even get the chance to play on RD Asteroid, you have to join the Castaway Steam group, join the Castaway Steam group chat, and if you join our Steam group chat, you will be notified of when we're trying to fill up the servers. We have daily sessions when we join in America, Europe, and Asia. So there you go. That's your first step. Do that, and then we can talk about the rest. And of course, I'm sure people are going to accuse me, and they're going to accuse the Castaway people of being like gay, emo, goth, hipster contrarians because, oh yeah, they play this like obscure, shitty, like abandoned, scrapped beta map because they're just so edgy and heckin' cool. They can't play the real maps like Badwater and Dust Bowl. They have to be special snowflakes and play the slop, and then they're gonna pretend it's good. I want to make it very clear. This map is actually really fucking good. We're not playing it purely for the fucking nostalgia factor or purely to be fucking edgy and hip and, you know, fucking hipsters and we're just so special. I would not play this map all this time, and I would not play it over and over again and enjoy playing on it if I didn't actually like this fucking map. It is just an actual fact. On my old man's grave, this map is awesome. I truly do believe that. And I genuinely think this is probably the single most underrated map in all of Team Fortress 2, as far as the official ones go. And I got the idea to make this video because even though this is the upward of Castaway, basically, and we play this map all the time, every single time we play this map, almost, there's going to be at least a few people that have never seen this fucking map before in their entire fucking life, you know? And they have no idea what's going on, and they're going to be asking, how do you play this mode? I don't know where to go. What is this? There's no payload. And, you know, it's completely understandable, obviously, that they don't know how to play the map. Because for about 9 years at this point, this has been just an abandoned, forgotten, scrapped, like, hidden map that most people have had zero chance to play on. So I get that concept of why people don't get this map. And that's why I'm making this video. I'm going to explain to you in practical details how to play RD Asteroid. And of course, RD Asteroid is not just a forgotten map, it's also a forgotten game mode. This is the only map for this abandoned game mode that never took off and never got out of beta. You know, and that game mode is, of course, in RD Asteroid RD, which stands for Robot Destruction. So when you're loading into an RD Asteroid match, you know, in the loading screen, you're going to have bold lettering telling you the game mode, Robot Destruction. You're going to have a sketch of a little robot, and then you're going to load into the game, and you're going to see all these big chungus robots running all around the place. You know, I think if you just think about it really hard, if you just let it sit for a minute, I think everyone can figure out what the objective is. You know, like, really. Okay, get this. In Robot Destruction, what you have to do, what the objective is, you have to destroy robots. And, you know, at the same time, you also have to defend your robots from being destroyed by the enemy team. Very simple. If you take one thing away from this video and you're going to play on this map, if you learn one thing in Robot Destruction, you don't just destroy the robot. You destroy the robot, and then you gotta collect the scrap that the little heckin' big chungus roboterino drops after you whack him. Okay? You gotta collect it. Because if you shoot the robot and then you don't collect the scrap, not only are you not helping your team, you are actively harming the team effort. You're actively playing against the objective, and you're stealing points from your team. So there you go. Robot destruction, but it's also robot scrap collection after the robot destruction. Shoot the robots, then collect the scrap metal. And that scrap is it's literally the points that your team gets, and you need to collect 300. And, you know, each robot, depending on how big the robot is, drops a certain amount. So you collect enough robots, you shoot enough robots, and then in the end, you get enough points. And all of those points go into your core, and when you get over 300, you start winning the game. A cool part about the objective in this game mode is that there's actually an incentive for you to do it. You can use the robots as health packs and ammo packs, basically. When you destroy a robot and you collect those scrap parts that they drop, those parts heal you and they refill your ammo. And they even overheal you. So that's pretty fucking awesome, you know? If you didn't have a reason to do the objective before, well, now you do, you know? If you need some health, if you need some ammo, hey, destroy a robot and use them as a fucking refill. You got 3 different types, 3 different sizes of robot that you can see when you look down below. You know, there's A, B, C. And of course, RD Asteroid is a very confusing map because of this. It has 3 different types of robots. This is too confusing for new players. Duh! Okay, so you have A robots, B robots, and C robots. You have 3 separate waves. And the A wave is in the front of the base. Basically, as soon as you walk in, you have these little bitch boy robots walking around. The B wave is a little bit farther back in the base, and these are a little bit bigger than the A robots. These are the medium chungus robots. And finally, the last wave, wave C, you got the big chungus robots. And these are the biggest. They drop the most scrap, which means that they give the most points if you destroy them and you collect them. And you can find these the furthest back and they're elevated. So you have to walk up the stairs or you have to jump up on this platform a little bit above the previous waves. Important thing to note about these waves is that you have to go in order when you're clearing the robots. And you'll notice this, that some robots are Ubered sometimes. And this is precisely because you have to clear the waves in order. If you want to destroy the B robots, you can't even damage them until you've destroyed every single A robot first, right? And, C, same thing. If you want to get to the C robots, you got to completely clear the first two waves before you do that. So just keep that in mind. You have to go in order when clearing the robots. You got to go from wave A to wave B to wave C. And it's all very natural, very easy to understand. The first wave, A, is going to be in the front of the base, B is in the middle, and C is the farthest back out of them all. So you got to go deeper into the enemy base with every single wave of robots that you want to destroy. And of course, the deeper you go into the base, the bigger the robots get, and the bigger the rewards as far as the points that you can get from destroying those robots get. An important thing to note about clearing the robots is that every time you clear a wave, a respawn timer for that wave begins. So if you destroy every single robot in the base, there's going to be a cooldown. There's a refractory period that you're going to have to wait before you can, destroy more robots and get more points, which is good. That makes sense. That gives the enemy team some time to recover, get their shit together, clear out their base, get some defenses up for the next wave. So, that's something to bear in mind. And another thing that has to be mentioned about the respawn time for the robots is that every single time you destroy a wave, so, the second that you destroy every single A robot, that is when the respawn timer begins for that specific wave. So you got to clear the next wave before that respawn timer ends, or, all of your progress as far as the waves are concerned is reset back to the first wave. And if you don't do it in time, if you're late in destroying the next waves, what can happen is that you could be on wave C and you're destroying the big Chungus robots, but the respawn timer expires. And then those big Chungus robots are going to get Ubered. You can't hurt them anymore. And you got to go back all the way to wave A. So it's pretty simple. You just shoot at the robots, you collect what they drop, and you go in order as far as, the sizes and the letters of the robots go. You start with A, then you go to B, then you go to C. Very simple stuff. Now that I've explained the robot destruction part of RD Asteroid, it's worth mentioning the equally important part of this map and this game mode, which is the core. The core, the core, the core. All of the points that you collect when you destroy the robots and you collect the parts, all of those points are transferred into your core, which is behind your spawn. And the enemy team can steal every single point that you have collected by stealing your core and, taking it and bringing it back to their base. And of course, this applies to both teams. The enemy can steal your core, they can steal your points, and you can take theirs. So just like both teams are destroying each other's robots, and you have to attack the enemy's robots and you have to defend your robots, the same exact principle applies when you're talking about the core. You got to try to steal the enemy's core, but at the same time, you also got to protect yours. So now I'm going to go into detail about how to steal the enemy's core and how this entire process works. So first of all, you got to get to the enemy base, obviously, and then you get to the core room in the back. And when you get to the core room, you're going to have 3 entrances that you can choose from. The most obvious entrance is the center, and it's guarded by a bunch of lasers. And you also have 2 entrances on the sides too. And the easiest entrance by far is a door to the right of the lasers. And then to the left of the lasers, you have a bunch of vents that you can enter. And this is the longest and most time-consuming entrance out of them all. Now, there's specific situations in which all of these entrances could be used, and, they could be the better choice. But in most cases, in most scenarios, the best way to enter the core room is through the door on the right. It's fast, simple, and consistent. The center is the most straightforward way to the core. It's right there. You can see the core right there. You just want to get in there, run in and get it. And, technically, this is the fastest way to get in. But, of course, you got a bunch of lasers guarding the center, and those can zap you and kill you, which means that if you want to get in through the center, you have to do some death front type limbo shit, whatever. If you want to get through, you can do it quickly. It is possible, but there's always a risk that you'll fuck it up. Or, even if you don't fuck up, you'll get pushed into the lasers by the enemy team. And, that's not exactly a good outcome. Very important note is that you can actually tank the lasers if you have the right tools. Usually they're going to insta-kill you, but if you have Bonk or if you have an Uber, you could just run straight through without any issue. And in those cases, if you do have the correct tools, the center is absolutely the best way in, the quickest, and you should go there if you're actually prepared for it. Now, the path through the vents, as I've already said, on the left of the lasers, it's the longest one, the most time-consuming one in, but it's still a good choice in some situations. It's not useless. If there's someone defending the other entrances, the vents are actually a good choice if you want to sneak in, especially if you're playing spy. Perfectly reasonable, and in some situations, the best way in. So all of these entrances, in some scenarios, have their uses. So whichever entrance you use, after you get into the core room, you can now proceed in grabbing the core and stealing the enemy's points. Now, a very important thing to note here. The core does not function like the intel does in Capture the Flag. You can't really just grab it and start running back to your base instantly. You gotta get on the core platform, and then you gotta stand on it for a good while, because you gotta gather up all of the enemy's points in small increments. You don't just get 200 points if you fucking get on the core platform and in a nanosecond you can run away. That's not how it works. You're gonna get like 5 if you do that. You gotta stand on it for a while, because the second that you step off the platform, you stop collecting the points. You can step off with a certain amount of points, and then you can step back on the platform later, and you'll keep collecting the points wherever you left off from. But just something you got to keep in mind. You got to stand on it for a while before it's actually worth stealing the core. The fact that you have to stand still in one spot for a decent amount of time if you want to steal all of the enemy's points means that you're pretty vulnerable while you're doing that. Because, you can't just walk through the lasers. Even the enemy team, even the defenders, they're going to get zapped by the lasers. But, shooting through the lasers is not a problem. The defenders can just bombard your ass while you're standing on the core platform. This means that you actually have to make a decision when you're trying to steal the enemy's core. There's 2 options. You can try maximizing the amount of points that you steal. But, if you try doing that, you take more risk. You leave yourself more exposed to defenders. You give them more time to rush back to the base, or, come out of spawn to fuck you up. If you don't want to risk that, you could try going for a faster approach. You only grab a handful of points, and then you try to make a quick escape before anyone can react. But, the obvious drawback here, if you're doing that, you're going to be stealing a smaller amount of points. So this is a classic case of weighing risk versus reward. And there's no perfect formula on what you should do. Every game is different, and the correct choice in what you should do, which decision you should take, it's always going to be different as well. It all depends on what the enemy's location is, what their awareness level is, and on what type of escape plan you actually have. And finding that golden ratio of the amount of points that you can steal while still managing to get away, that's part of the challenge. And it really adds a lot of depth to this game mode. And I just mentioned the escape plan that you're using. And of course, something has to be mentioned here. After you grab the core, you have to make a decision about which exit you will use. There is a very big change when you compare the entrances and the exits that you can use. Because the right door entrance that you used when you entered, possibly, that you could have used, that door that you can open, which is now to the left of you after you take the core, that door is now locked. You cannot open this door from inside the core room. So the entrance door, which I said that, that's usually the best choice if you want to enter the core room, is almost always going to be the worst choice when you exit the core room, because you have no way to open this door from inside. It only opens from the outside. So the best entrance becomes the worst exit. Now, granted, this is not an impossible exit because the door will still open if someone from the outside of the core room will activate it. And I mean, you could try to have the enemy open the door for you and you could try and slip out. But, chances are in most situations, you'll get your fucking ass beat if you try doing that.
Fucking flashier and cooler than the bullshit we have now.
That's why I like it.
I fucking love it. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna open the door for you, Scout. Yeah. Opened. You gotta be pulling some slick fucking shit if you want to pull that one off. With that said, it's important to remember that this is Team Fortress 2, and it is in fact possible to synergize as a team, and it is possible to have a teammate of yours, coordinate possibly with a teammate. So you pick up the core and he waits outside and he can open the door for you. That is possible. And obviously, relying on your teammates isn't always going to work. You're not always going to be doing that. In fact, for the majority of the cases, you're not going to be doing that. You're usually flying solo when you're trying to steal this shit. But when it does happen, when you do have a teammate that you're coordinating with, this door strat is really fucking good. When it works, it really works. It is a really fucking good strategy if you do it right. But when you're flying solo, when you're not pulling a fucking two-man heist, usually the door should be avoided. When you're exiting, again, I have to mention, it is most of the times the door is the best entrance and it's the worst exit. So just keep that in mind. All right, so that's the door. Now let's talk about the other two exits. So now you got to weigh whether you want to go through the center and you want to go through the lasers or if you want to go through the vents. If you want to make a quick escape, going through the lasers is probably your best bet. Unless you have a teammate opening the door, this is the fastest way to exit the core room. Now, the problem is, if anyone is shooting at you, if anyone is trying to stop you, you trying to go through the lasers and you crouching down and having to stand still for a second and, maneuvering through that fucking minefield while trying to fight someone is not a good choice. A lot of the times it's just not going to work. So if you do have someone defending and trying to stop you and shooting at you, I would say a lot of the times it's actually 50-50. Going through the lasers, even though it's quick, it's also a lot of risk. In the case where you have to fight people and you have to dodge defenders, going through the vents, even though it's the slowest option out of the base, out of the core room, it is something that a lot of the times is going to be the best choice. Because if you're going through the vents, if there's only one or two guys defending, depending on their classes and depending on the class that you're playing and depending on the skill levels, you can take that fight a lot more comfortably if you go through the slow path through the vents. Rather if you fucking tried going through the lasers and, that shit is most of the time certain doom whenever you're fighting anyone. And of course, you can try pulling some mind game shit. You don't have to commit to the vents. If you can go to the vents, you can make people think you're going through the vents. You can bait people to go into there. Oh, well, I'm going to stop him. He's going there. And then you can quickly try and jump out, especially if you're playing scout, this works. You can jump out of the vents when people are trying to go into there and stop you. You can jump out, go back to the core room, and try to escape through the lasers. And I've done that before. It is fucking classic when it works. And of course, you just gotta remember, sometimes there is no correct option. Sometimes no matter what the fuck you're gonna do, you're gonna fucking die. The core is very important, and sometimes people are gonna be defending that shit properly and in numbers, and you're just fucked no matter what you do. It doesn't matter how slick you think you are and how smart you think you are and how fast you are. If 7 heavies and 4 soldiers appear to defend the fucking core, you're probably fucked. If they're covering every entrance, sometimes you just die. That happens. Because, you're trying to steal their points. You're trying to steal all of their hard work that they've done playing the objective. They've destroyed all your robots throughout the game. And now you're just going to fucking steal all of their work. If they're doing it right, they're going to be trying to stop you in fucking numbers and in force. So, stealing the core, it's a lot of trial and error. And it's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of complexity to it. But, when it works, when you pull it off, when you do this fucking heist shit, it is some of the most fun you can have on this map. It is really fucking good. And the entire gameplay related to the cores, especially when you're trying to steal the cores, I think it's my favorite part about this map. The core is the ultimate comeback mechanic. You can have games where you're getting your ass kicked for a fucking half an hour and you're constantly losing and the enemy team is just fucking raping you. They're inside your base just fucking destroying all your little big chungus robots and there's nothing you can do to stop them. And just for all of this time you're getting destroyed and the enemy team is just fucking creaming you. Because the core mechanic exists, all of the points that the enemy team has gained at your expense, just constantly fucking shitting on you, you can get all of those points back if you manage to pull it off, if you manage to pull off the steal. It doesn't matter how big the score deficit on this map is. It doesn't matter how hard you've been getting raped the entire game. If you manage to take that core, if you manage to steal it from the fucking enemy base and bring it back, you can make fucking comebacks that are not possible in any other fucking game mode. I've already seen some of the most fucking ridiculous comebacks on this map. The closest game that I've ever fucking seen happened on RD Asteroid. This game mode and this map is fucking incredible. I'm not going to bullshit you and tell you that every single game on RD Asteroid is close and it's down to the wire and it's all perfect. No, of course, you get plenty of shit stomps like on every other single fucking map in this game. But you have that chance, you have that opportunity, you have that potential for really, really fucking great games, great comebacks, and really just close fucking matches on this map. Precisely because of the way that the score works and the way that the core works in this game mode. It's not going to be every match, but when Asteroid hits, it fucking hits, dude. It's a fucking bull's fucking eye. So at the end of the day, if a team wants to win an RD Asteroid, it needs to reach 300 points. There is a final point that has to be made, another little complexity, a little unique thing about this game mode. You don't win the game the second you get 300 points. No, that's not how it works. If you're playing CTF and you cap 3 times, you win the round instantly. It's that easy. The way it works in RD Asteroid is that when you get the points that you need to win, 300, you start a timer, right? You start a timer of 45 seconds, a countdown until you win the game. And this is massive. This is very fucking important. If the enemy team gets all the points that they need to win and they start the countdown, you still have 45 seconds in which you can do something to keep the game going. If your team manages to grab the enemy's core while this countdown is ticking down, you can reset the countdown and you can stop it and you can prevent it from ending the game. So this means that even if the enemy team has all the points that they need to win the game, and even if there's 1 second left on the clock for the countdown until they win, if you touch that core for even a second, the game is not over. Shit gets fucking real on this map sometimes, man. Like, I've seen both teams, red and blue, get the 300 points in the span of a minute, and it's like a 15-second difference. Both teams had the countdown, and by like 10 seconds, one team won the game. So, I gotta say, everything to do with the cores in this game mode, they've fucking outdone themselves, man. Like, beta map, what are you talking about? This shit is fucking awesome, dude. The core gameplay, no pun intended, of Asteroid is really, really just fucking great TF2. And it just makes sense, Like, if the enemy team is kicking your ass and they're all in your base, destroying your robots constantly, and basically fucking camping outside of your spawn, and they're all throughout the game, they're very comfortable. They get overconfident, and if you just manage to slip out and you manage to slip into their base, into their core, especially if you're playing scout or spy, you sneak in, and all of this time that they've spent destroying you and gaining all the points, and if you manage to take that core, all of their fucking hard work, all of the fucking time that they've spent kicking your ass goes to shit if you manage to bring that core back to your base. Everyone loves a good underdog story. Everyone loves a good comeback. And I think that's the main reason why I really fucking love this game mode and this map. The comeback potential on RD Asteroid is very fucking real. So there you go. That's basically the practical explanation of the game mode, the map, how to play the objective on RD Asteroid. And I really don't think that, Asteroid's that complicated. I guess you could say that Robot Destruction is complicated as a game mode because, it's a double objective. But when you play the map, like after watching this video, it'll make perfect sense. You are more than qualified to understand what the fuck is going on. And of course, no one's actually going to force you to play the objective on Asteroid. I mean, if you just want to play Asteroid and just chill out and frag out and not give a shit about the objective, you can do that. And I'd say that Asteroid is just one of those maps that works on every level. No matter how you're approaching it, no matter what your mindset is, if you don't want to play the objective, if you just want to fucking zone out, walk into walls and shoot at people, like, you can have a good fucking time on Asteroid, even if you're doing that. But, the objective is so fucking fun for me that, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Like, playing for the objective really makes this fucking map, like, already it's good, but the objective just fucking elevates it, man. And, I can't guarantee that you're going to like this map as much as I do. At the end of the day, it's all personal preference when it comes to map. It's a matter of taste. Maybe you're going to think Asteroid's the biggest fucking piece of shit. I don't know. But all I'm saying is you should give it a try. If enough people gave this map a fair shot, they would be pleasantly surprised at how good it is and how well it all plays. So once again, if you actually want to try out RD Asteroid, the only way you're going to get to do that on a full server is if you join castaway.tf. We're the only fucking community server that actually shows this map some love. Love that it fucking very much deserves. So, go out there, join our server, and try it out for yourself. Once again, join the Castaway Steam group and join the Castaway Steam group chat, where you will be notified of when we're trying to fill up the servers and have some fucking games. Anyway, video's still not over yet. Still want to go over some other things, but, the practical part is basically done. Now I'm going to be talking a bit about more theoretical concepts, you could say. So to start, how do you look at Robot Destruction as a game mode? How do you classify it? What the fuck was Valve thinking when they made Asteroid and when they made Robot Destruction? And this comes up. I wanted to talk about this specifically because I have 2 or 3 separate occasions at this point where I was playing Asteroid and some guy comes in and he says that, oh wow, this is basically a fucking MOBA. I'm shooting at robots. Yeah, this is like Dota 2. That is the single most retarded fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, while still technically not being completely wrong. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, yeah, you shoot at bots, you clear like robot waves in Robot Destruction. So it's basically League of Legends when you think about it, because you shoot at bots and you clear like minion waves in MOBAs. So really, when you think about it, RD Asteroid is basically Valve's fucking prototype for Deadlock. It's the fucking first MOBA shooter. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to say that if you actually think that RD Asteroid is a MOBA, you're probably fucking stupid. I'm just going to leave it at that. From my point of view, the best way to look at RD Asteroid, the best way to classify it as a game mode is it's basically CTF+. That's the way I look at it. I've never been one of those fucking people that like call CTF a bad game mode. Oh, CTF is heckin' bad because it just heckin' is, okay? Like, I never believed in that shit. Like, to me, CTF was always a perfectly fucking fine game mode, a good game mode, a game mode that I liked. It has one fatal flaw, CTF, and that flaw is just a lack of fucking maps. You know, like, that is the biggest flaw that CTF has. I do believe that Robot Destruction, the game mode of RD Asteroid, I do think that it is CTF plus. I'm not saying that it makes CTF obsolete or, it's like a total replacement that, CTF needs to be removed from the game and Robot Destruction should replace it completely. That's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is Robot Destruction very obviously comes from the same tradition as CTF does. And I think that whoever at Valve got the idea to make this map and to make this game mode, I think they were, very deliberately looking at it as a way to like put a spin on Capture the Flag. And it's not the first time that this has been done. Valve has done this before. Before RD, you had SD, which of course is another fucking game mode that only has one map, but that one actually got out of fucking beta. Of course, I'm talking about SD Doomsday, which is another forgotten map and another sort of spin on CTF that Valve has done, in 2012. And I'll talk about Doomsday specifically in its own video later on. But I just think it's interesting that you have at least a few separate occasions on which Valve made sort of modified versions of CTF. So I think it's worth talking about what specifically changes in Robot Destruction. How does it branch out? How does it differ from Capture the Flag? What are the main things that is bitched about when people talk about CTF and when they cry about how it's a bad game mode is that there's a lot of turtling in Capture the Flag. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of true. There is validity to that argument. There is a lot of defensive focus to CTF and a lot of people sitting on their ass building 7 sentries in the fucking intel room. And defense is very simple in CTF. It's simple and it's straightforward. You go to the fucking intel room and you defend. You build sentries, you place sticky traps, whatever. And usually it's, intended to be an easy place, a fortified place to defend. And that is not how things work in Asteroid. That is not how things work in Robot Destruction. Because you don't just have one room that you need to defend if you want to play the objective. You do, of course, have that core room that basically functions like an intel room, though, there are some distinctions. But, you have a fortified place inside your base, behind your spawn, like very traditional to CTF that you have to defend. Remember, this is fucking Robot Destruction. And if you pool all of your defenses to defend that core room, I mean, that is going to work to some extent. That is important. It needs to be done. But you're not defending the fucking robots if you're doing that. And since this is Robot Destruction, if you're not defending the robots and all you're doing is you're defending your core, your robots are going to get their ass kicked every fucking time and you will fucking lose the game because the enemy team is just going to get free points because the robots aren't defended, if you're only sitting in the core room and you're defending that. And of course, the same principle applies if you're doing the opposite. Like if you have all your defenses in the front of the base, if you're protecting the robots, and if you have sentry nests in like the fucking entrance of the base, you're defending the robots. But of course, like first of all, that's going to be a lot harder to maintain a defense if you're defending the front of the base because, the spawn is farther away. You have less access to health cabinets, ammo, metal, etc. And, less access to teammates that are spawning in than if you're just defending the back of the base. And on top of that, you're also not defending the back of the base, the core room, which means that it's liable to be snuck into and your core could be taken and it could be jacked while you're focusing on defending the robots in the front. So it's a very interesting concept that you need to learn. You need to build a balance between what you're defending. You have to keep both of the objectives in mind. And I really think that this double objective, like this little bit of added complexity, I really do think like this is massively improving on the CTF formula. Complexity isn't always a good thing. You know, like sometimes you just fucking ruin things by adding complexity to it. But in robot destruction, it's done in a fucking really smart, subtle way in which it, I think, really, really improves on the game mode. And it kind of solves that problem if you see it as a problem about, you know, the fucking 7 engineers in the intel room just camping all fucking game and, you know, like that being the best strategy if you want to win CTF. That is not going to work in robot destruction. You know, you have to fucking defend the entire base, not just a small little part of it in the back. Another aspect of Asteroid that differs from Capture the Flag is that at the beginning of the game, in Robot Destruction, there is a setup time. You know, at first you're like, wait, what the fuck is this shit? Why is there a setup time? This isn't fucking payload, this isn't attack defense. But then you think about it, and it actually makes a lot of sense. It is a big base. There's a lot of ground to cover. You know, there's a lot of places you need to defend. So it makes sense that some time is given for you to set up your defenses properly. I guess the main reason why CTF doesn't have a setup time is that it's already quite easy to defend. You know, like if you're trying to defend, if you don't forget that the intel room exists, you know, you could set up defenses by the time the enemy comes over a lot of the time. Another thing, I guess a problem that you could note about CTF is that there's a lot of intel rushing in Capture the Flag. And I've done this shit dozens of times, you know, just to prove a point about Casual being a piece of shit, you know, just rushing the intel 3 times and capping and ending the game in 2 minutes because of the fucking round limit. And of course, in Robot Destruction, there is no intel rushing. There's no such thing. There's no such concept because at the start of the game, there's no intel. You know, you got to destroy the robots first. You got to play through that objective first before the double objective even comes into play. Is intel rushing a bad thing? Is it a good thing? You know, you could make an argument for both sides. And I'm not going to get into it right now, but you know, all I'm going to say is that robot destruction just sort of removes that problem completely by, you know, making the intel or, you know, the core in robot destruction not even become a part of the game that matters until, you know, you played for like 5 minutes at least. Another big change in robot destruction when you compare it to CTF is respawn times. And CTF is of course notorious for having 20-second long respawn times. Now, granted, it does actually make sense for CTF to have those respawn times be that long because, you know, as mentioned previously, it is quite easy to defend and Capture the Flag. Your flag room is going to be right next to your spawn or is going to be behind your spawn. So, you know, to counter that, you know, the respawn times are obviously deliberately made longer, you know, 20 seconds thereabouts. So, you know, the fucking attacking team has a fucking chance to actually push into your fucking intel room and actually make some progress, you know, because if people were spawning every fucking 10 seconds, you know, capping would be even more fucking hard than it is already. And defending would be even easier than it is already. So, you know, it makes sense in CTF. But this is changed in robot destruction. Respawn times in Asteroid are basically halved when you compare it to CTF. They're about 10 seconds. The reason why this works, the reason why this is possible to do in Asteroid, the reason why you can shorten the respawn time by half and not ruin the game mode is because of that double objective, because this is CTF plus, and the plus part of robot destruction makes it so the defending team has a lot of fucking ground to cover. It's not as easy to defend the fucking base, and it's not as easy to defend the objective when you're playing on robot destruction when you compare it to CTF. And that is the reason why you can get respawn times that are twice as short. And that's a fucking great change, you know? Like, who the fuck doesn't want their respawn time to be cut by half? Like, that's fantastic. And it's done in a very smart way, you know? Like, you compensate the fact that defenders are going to be spawning in a lot faster by giving them more places that they have to defend. You know, it's very simple, but it's a really fucking effective change. And by far my favorite change in robot destruction is the comeback potential that is only possible thanks to the way that the cores work on Asteroid. And this is definitely something that needs to be noted. You know, like when you're playing CTF and when you're getting your ass beat, and you're down 2-0, that is when CTF actually turns into a miserable game mode to play. Because at that point, the only fucking thing that you're allowed to do is you have to sit in the intel room and you have to defend. Like there's no other option. Like if you don't do that, you will fucking lose. And I have thousands of fucking rounds of experience on this, right? When you're down 2-0 on CTF and you leave the intel room for fucking 10 seconds, your team will fucking fail you. The intel will get stolen, and you're just gonna fucking lose the game. And at that point, it's just like it doesn't feel like there's anything you can do but sit on your fucking ass in the fucking intel room and just defend forever. Because if you go on the offensive, well, you're just gonna get fucking dunked. Like that's just gonna happen. And this issue is completely non-existent in Robot Destruction. And the game mode deliberately encourages you not to sit on your ass in your fucking intel room, in your core room. You are encouraged when you are getting your ass kicked and when you have a score deficit, you have to go on the offense. Like the best defense at that point is a good offense, and you are encouraged to take that core and try and make a comeback. Everything to do with the way the cores work and, having the chance to actually steal points from the enemy team when you take their fucking core. That is such a massive fucking improvement over, just regular CTF, right? And it is my favorite change. The comeback potential in Robot Destruction is fucking awesome, and it is my favorite part about the game mode by far. So yeah, there are some important differences between Robot Destruction and Capture the Flag, but I would still say that it's very obvious that both of these game modes are, they come from the same root, they come from the same tradition. And again, the way I look at Robot Destruction is I think it's just CTF plus. I think it's a modified version of CTF, but I think it's a very good modification. I really do like the changes that are done to this game mode. I love the double objective, and I really think that it elevates the game mode, And again, I'm going to reaffirm my point. I do not have a problem with traditional Capture the Flag in TF2. There's nothing actually wrong with CTF as a game mode. It's just that there's no fucking maps. There's like 8 maps, and half of them are repurposed maps from other game modes. Like CTF Well. Like, CTF Well doesn't work as well as CP Well. I think we could all agree on that. And that's just because Well was not made to be a CTF map. It's a 5CP map that was repurposed to also be CTF. They just didn't make enough original maps that were tailor-made for the game mode. That is the problem with CTF. And this is the great tragedy of RD Asteroid. And, it is a fucking shame what Valve did, or more accurately, what they didn't do with this map. Because this map is a fucking godsend to TF2. And especially when I'm talking about CTF. The biggest problem with the game mode is a lack of good maps. Well, there it is. It's RD Asteroid. This is arguably the single best CTF map in the game, even though technically it's not CTF. The best CTF map in the game, in a game mode that desperately needs good maps to be added to it, and it's just never added into the fucking game. It sits there as a beta map, and then Meet Your Match comes around, and it's just unceremoniously fucking scrapped and removed. And, well, I guess we didn't finish it, and now we got this piece of shit system that came out. Let's just fucking throw this fucking perfectly fine, great fucking map into the garbage forever and fucking ever. Okay, let me give you a quick rundown of the official story of RD Asteroid and its status as a map in Team Fortress 2. Asteroid is an official Valve-made map, and it got put into the game in 2014, but it technically wasn't finished. See, Asteroid is part of a very unique experiment that did not last a long time. It was a beta map. You didn't need to download a TF2 beta to access this map. All you had to do is using the quick play system, peace be upon it. You could just opt in to this concept of beta maps, and you could check a box and say, yes, I want to play beta maps, and you could use the quick play system to play these maps. And you had a whole 2 beta maps, an entire section for 2 maps. Obviously, one of them was already Asteroid. Another one of them was Payload, Cactus Canyon. But Cactus Canyon, that's a story for a different time. But you had these beta maps, and you could access them through the quick play system that TF2 used to have. And you could just play them. You could opt into them. If you didn't want to play them, you didn't want to see them, you could just, say, fuck you, I don't want this. But if you wanted to, you could specifically choose to play on these maps. And I guess the big idea from WoW was that, when we're going to release these beta maps, we're going to let the players try these interesting concepts and, interesting maps that, have potential but aren't quite finished yet. And, they're going to give us feedback and they're going to get to try it out. And it's going to be great. And we're going to finish these maps and we're going to iron out the details very soon with this map beta. And, of course, the great tragedy is that these maps never got out of beta. The beta maps were never finished. 10 years and fucking counting by now. This was a beta that never ended. As I already said, you could use the quick play system to access the beta maps. I have a vivid memory of using the quick play system at like 4 a.m. to get into an RD Asteroid match, and you could get full ones no matter what time of the fucking day it was. The one thing that I remember from the old days on Asteroid is I was sitting in the fucking core room and I was defending it against some free-to-play scout that was just running in constantly. I was just shitting on that guy. But I digress. The point of what I'm saying is you could use the quick play system to play beta maps and to play RD Asteroid. And as soon as that system was destroyed, as soon as quick play was removed, and as soon as casual fucking matchmaking was forced into this game with Meet Your Match, that is when you could no longer play beta maps. And that is when Asteroid was forever fucking gone from Valve servers and, from the fucking public consciousness. And I looked up specifically the exact date of when Asteroid got added into the fucking game and when beta maps were added into TF2. Fucking July 8th of 2014. And, Meet Your Match is July 7th of 2016. So almost to the day, 2 exact fucking years that RD Asteroid was in this game in a playable state before it was all flushed down the toilet in fucking Meet Your Match in 2016. So yeah, that's basically the official story. That's the gist of it anyway. So, let me ask you a rhetorical question, guys, okay? Hey, let me ask you. When do you think Asteroid is getting out of beta? It's a beta map. It's still officially in the game files. Like when you install Team Fortress 2, Asteroid comes pre-packaged with the game. It's you can still play it offline. You can still play it on LAN. It's just not part of the official rotation. When is this beta coming to an end? Just fucking really. Let me give you some food for thought real quick. Just something to think about, right? RD Asteroid is just not a finished map, and Robot Destruction is just not a finished game mode, and it just can't be added into the official game. It can't, okay? It just can't. Player Destruction, which is a game mode that just rips off the concept of Robot Destruction, even the fucking name, and just does everything a million times worse, and is a fucking terrible piece of shit. Like that can be added into the game officially. The fucking slop known as PD Watergate is in the game officially. The Seal map is in the game officially. But RD Asteroid couldn't be added into the fucking rotation. Pastime got added into the fucking game with Meet Your Match. And that's been considered an official game mode. And that's always been playable in casual fucking matchmaking. Pastime. If Pastime is considered official, why can't Robot Destruction be official? Right? And of course, let me just make a point. Pastime's actually a pretty fucking awesome game mode. I don't have anything against it, but that's a story for a different time. Fucking Manpower is an official game mode in TF2, and you can play it in casual. Well, technically, probably not going to find a fucking server, but Manpower is in the rotation. And that's not a story for a different time. I'm not making a video on that fucking piece of shit. No, thank you. I'm good. Versus Saxton Hale is an official recognized game mode in Team Fortress 2, but Robot Destruction isn't. Just think about that for a second. Just let it sit. Let it sink in. It's 2016. We haven't ruined the game enough with casual matchmaking. No. We need to fucking just give you the finger in every single aspect of the game, and we're going to remove content from this game. Playable gameplay content that some people really fucking enjoy. An official map, a beta map, who gives a fuck, but it is official, that people out there enjoyed playing and that has a lot of fucking potential. We are going to scrap that, throw that into the bin, and leave it there for a fucking decade. And let's be honest, probably forever. And there's a really fucked up part of them removing RD Asteroid from the rotation in a really hilarious way. But the fucked up thing about this whole thing is that they removed Asteroid from the official rotation in 2016 with Meet Your Match, with the casual matchmaking system that was added into the game. RD Asteroid was just not put into it, okay? The fucking tragicomic irony about this whole thing, RD Asteroid would have worked really, really fucking well in casual matchmaking. Arguably, this would be the single best map to play on casual. Allow me to explain. One of the biggest issues of casual matchmaking is, of course, the fucking retarded ass piece of shit round limit that they put into it, right? You reached the round limit that you got to play in 5 minutes, so now we're just gonna kill the server and make you fucking restart the whole thing and put you into a loading screen, and you're gonna have to wait 2 minutes to play again, and the server's gonna be half empty. That's the round limit. And of course, I've been over this a fucking million times already. Like, the round limit really fucking sucks for CTF especially, because you only have one round that you can play in that game mode before it kicks in and kills the server. And I wasn't fucking around when I said that RD Asteroid is CTF plus. In casual, the CTF plus aspect of RD Asteroid would have made it so that this problem would have been, it wouldn't have been fixed. Like, the round limit's still a fucking piece of shit. Like, casual matchmaking is still a fucking embarrassment, and it has no place in the game. But RD Asteroid would not have been affected nearly as much as any other CTF map in the game by the round limit. In CTF, you can just rush the intel, cap 3 times, and the game's over in 2 minutes. And I've tested that and done that fucking dozens of times already. That is physically impossible in RD Asteroid, because you can't just rush the intel. At the start, there is no intel. There is no core. First of all, you got to collect the points. You start with 0 points. And like, the minimum of RD Asteroid, like, you can't rush it. It's like over 10 minutes. Like, you got to start with the robot destruction part first. Like, that part is not optional. It is a requirement. Like, somebody has to do some robot destroying for a good while before winning the game is even possible. Like, the minimum before the game is even winnable is probably like 10 minutes, somewhere about there. And in my experience, the average round for RD Asteroid, not the minimum, not the maximum, but the average, is somewhere around half an hour, 30 minutes. If RD Asteroid was a playable map in casual matchmaking, if they just didn't fucking remove it for no reason whatsoever in 2016, if you could just play this map, if this was in the CTF rotation all these years, this would have worked really fucking well, even with the piece of shit fucking round limit, because on average, you could expect, if you queue for RD Asteroid in casual, you could be pretty certain that you're going to get to play the map for at least half an hour. And this is a guarantee that 90% of the fucking maps in this game in casual do not fucking have. Oh man, like 2016, that entire year was just a total fucking go fuck yourself year for Team Fortress 2. Everything about it. And yeah, I know. Artie Asteroid getting removed is not nearly the worst thing that happened to the fucking game in that year. Although it's a part of, the root cause is always fucking casual matchmaking ruining everything. But it really fucking puts it into perspective just how every single fucking aspect of Meet Your Match was like they fucked up everything. They couldn't do a single fucking thing right. They didn't need to do this. They really could have just like kept Asteroid in the game. They could have kept Cactus Canyon too. Like there was no reason to remove the beta maps from the fucking official rotation. Those maps are perfectly playable and perfectly fine. But of course, there is not a silver lining from that entire fucking piece of shit update. Oh yeah, guys, yeah, someone's gonna tell me that they removed Asteroid because it was a beta map. They had to remove the beta maps from the game with the great update of Meet Your Match because they just weren't finished. They're in the beta and they're heckin' not finished. They're not ready to be played. Yeah, guys, they just couldn't keep Artie Asteroid in the game because they got really fucking serious about quality control in TF2 in 2016. Yeah, we all fucking know how much quality control they put into fucking casual matchmaking. A system that was so fucking broken on day one that it's incomprehensible, and a system that is so broken that even after almost a decade, it's still a piece of shit, inferior, dog shit fucking system that is worse in every single way to its predecessor. But guys, quality control meant that an unfinished beta map like Artie Asteroid just had to go. It couldn't stay. Like, oh yeah, Artie Asteroid has to go. It's an unfinished beta map. Wennis? Oh, put that shit in, baby. That right there is a real fucking map. Like, I'm sorry, but there's just no excuse for this map not being in the game, for this map being scrapped for all these years. There's no actual comprehensible explanation other than Valve is fucking retarded and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, or they're actively trying to make the game fucking worse. I don't know which one it is. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. Mommy says I have to fucking count to 10 when I get mad. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm breathing in deep. And I'm gonna stop seething. Okay? Yeah, I just remembered Meet Your Match. Excuse me. It could have happened to fucking anyone. I had a little meltdown, but I remembered Asteroid is still playable on castaway.tf. I don't have a reason to seeth anymore. And one more thing that I want to mention about Asteroid, and then finally we're gonna be fucking done. I want to talk about the atmosphere, or I guess the aesthetics of Artie Asteroid. Just really quickly, worth mentioning. I always thought that Asteroid was a really cool looking map, and it reminded me of Facing Worlds to some extent, from Unreal Tournament. I mean, when you actually sit down and think about it, the maps really aren't that similar, especially atmosphere-wise. Facing Worlds is fucking like a lot more trippy with those fucking spinning planets all over the place. But, I still remembered that map, Facing Worlds, when I saw Asteroid. So, it means something. There is some vague similarity, right? And you could argue about which map looks cooler. Facing Worlds has those spinning ass planets. I think Asteroid is a lot more low key in that aspect. It's a lot more chill as a map, but I think there's no fucking contest about which map actually plays better. Facing Worlds is fucking ass to actually play. And Asteroid is really fucking great in my opinion. But the main point that I would make about Artie Asteroid, atmosphere-wise, I would say that Asteroid is actually a pretty traditional TF2 map as far as atmosphere goes. I mean, Asteroid doesn't really look like Dust Bowl or Badlands or Badwater, color palette-wise especially. There's a lot of differences there. But if you ask me, from a thematic standpoint, what makes a traditional TF2 map, it's not necessarily that it has to be set in a desert. I think it's much more to do with it has to be a frontier type setting. Now, I'm not saying PL frontier. I'm talking about frontiers in general. Places that are just on the fringes of civilization. Which is why you have these maps in the Dust Bowl, the Badlands. These terms are not associated with thriving, like, settled developments. Let's put it that way. They're fucking shitholes. But the thing about TF2 maps is that they go into these unhospitable, uncivilized, unsettled, like shithole type environments, like the Badlands, for example, and they basically tame and domesticate these desolate, wild areas, right? That's basically how frontiers operate. You have these unsettled, like, hellholes, and you have a bunch of pioneers, a bunch of settlers that come in there, and they turn these hellholes into homes, right? They develop them. And I would say that that's a very persistent theme when it comes to TF2 maps. I mean, they're not really homes. They're like fucking working environments. They're factories and mine shafts and shit that the mercs are sent to blow up or something. But, like, generally speaking, most TF2 maps, despite being set in these, like, frontier type environments, have a real nice, like, homely, sort of cozy feeling to them, So if you look at it from that standpoint, RD Asteroid fits perfectly as a TF2 map from that thematic standpoint, right? I mean, you want to talk about frontiers. Well, Asteroid is space, the final fucking frontier. And it definitely gives me that vibe, that sort of cozy feeling that a lot of the other TF2 maps do. I'm not going to drone on too much about this, and I'm not some sort of TF2, like, setting purist and everything has to be this sort of specific way. Like, you can find exceptions to what I just said. For example, Koth King is basically the fucking opposite of everything that I just talked about. But, it's still a great map. But I just wanted to make this point. RD Asteroid is actually a lot more traditional as far as maps go in TF2 than it might seem at first glance. I already said that I love the way this map plays, and I could say the exact same thing about the way it looks and the way it generally just feels, the atmosphere, the vibe that it gives off. I dig it, But the bases in Asteroid definitely have this sort of comfortable feeling. You got this nice ambience with little beep boop robots running all around the place. And it's just a nice place, right? If you're gonna be stuck on a fucking space rock, you might as well be stuck on RD Asteroid. The one complaint that you could make about Asteroid from a aesthetic standpoint, and this is something that I've heard a fucking million times, is inside the bases you have these, like, default source textures that have reflectivity written on them. All I'm going to say about that is fuck you, I don't care. I actually like the way that looks. Like, yeah, you have reflectivity panels inside the space base. Yeah, that makes sense. I can imagine NASA doing something like that in the fucking ISS or whatever. I don't know why they need reflectivity panels, but then again, I'm not a fucking rocket scientist, am I? RD Asteroid is as close as me or any other TF2 player is going to get the fucking astronomy. And, if you make maps and the default textures distract you because you know what that is, well, that's a fucking you issue. Fuck you. Not my problem. Oh, it's the default texture? Well, how the fuck would I know that it's the default texture? I don't make fucking maps. I don't care. Roberto Gonzalez 2014 is not going to notice. Nobody cares. Keep it that way. Looks clean, nice and simple. Fuck you. RD Asteroid is perfect. And if this is the reason, these textures, if that's the reason why RD Asteroid is a fucking beta map and it couldn't be released into the official game as part of the official fucking rotation, actually go fuck yourself. Again, I don't make maps, so I don't care. I think the fucking textures look fine. But, if they wanted to, if Valve wanted to fucking change those textures, they could do that shit today. They could do that shit in fucking 2 hours if that's what they wanted to do. And hey, I guess that could still happen because the last time Robot Destruction got updated was, believe it or not, 2024. More than 10 years after Asteroid was released, more than 8 years after it was removed from the rotation, randomly Robot Destruction just gets an update. So hey guys, get your hopes up. 2 more fucking weeks and that beta is over. And we're getting the full, true version of RD Asteroid that we deserve. Anyway, I think I've said my piece about RD Asteroid at this point. I don't know how we got to this point. When I started making this video, I thought it was going to be like 20 minutes long. But we've been here for an hour. And, you know, let me just say, I didn't think it was funny. I didn't just sit down one day and think, hey, you know what would be funny? It would be funny if you made a fucking 1 hour long asteroid video. No, like this wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know how we got here, but anyway, it's over. So to the 5 guys that actually made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Like, actually, I honestly, I didn't intend to make this video 1 hour long. It just kind of happened, you know? But hey, if you're gonna make a 1 hour long video about a map in Team Fortress 2, it might as well be RD Asteroid. You know, this map deserves the love. And if you couldn't tell yet, I really do think it's fucking awesome. This is legitimately in my fucking top 10 maps. Maybe even in my top 5. I don't know. I'd have to make that list first to actually make sure, but I genuinely do really fucking like this map. So while you're waiting for RD Asteroid to get out of beta, once again, if you want to try this map out, join castaway.tf. The greatest community server ever fucking made. See you there. They actually just softlocked themselves. Holy shit. We fucking won.
Oh, they're going to the vents. Don't let him touch it.
It's a W.
Oh, thank God.
It's actually over this time.
He's going for it. He's got it.
No, it doesn't matter. It's a soft lock. It's a soft lock.
Yeah, it's a soft lock.
Oh, they didn't steal enough points. Fuck.
What?
Oh, wait, what?
What?
That was SARS.